ask council to take roll.
For Mr. Chairman, Kuhn,
Here.
Feeney,
Here.
LaRilliard. Here. McLaughlin.
Here.
Spotsky. Here. Ricard.
Present.
Bergdorf.
Here.
And Curley.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay, first item of business is approving the previous meeting's minutes, which are the minutes from our November 19th. Was it the last meeting? Oh, okay, from our November 19th, 2025 meeting. Can I have a motion? All right, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that passes. Okay, we're going to go to the, take these a bit out of order. We're going to start with number 8, item 8 on our agenda, which is amending resolution number 37 for 2024 regarding the distribution number 14 grant and indigent legal services. I believe Public Defender Jordan Huben is here.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Maybe just sit down and
Sure.
have both of you introduce yourselves. And
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Jordan Huban, Public Defender, and to my right is Keith Bellato, our Director of Operations.
Great, welcome.
Thank you very much. The Public Defender's Office requests authorization to amend the distribution number 14 grant contract with the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services. To better meet the changing needs of the Public Defender's Office, the amendment adds funding for the salary and fringe of a paralegal JD position and eliminates funding for salary and fringe of an assistant public defender position. So the paralegal JD position is an approved position in the 2026 budget. There's 2 positions, paralegal JD. One is 100% county funded, and then the other is 2% approximately county funded, and the rest indigent legal services. So if at least one of the positions is filled, that would allow us to be reimbursed by ILS for that created position.
Great. What is a paralegal JD?
Right.
Is it paralegal or a JD?
So we have positions, we have paralegal positions, and these 2 positions were created. There are 2 individuals in our office who went to law school, graduated from law school, but didn't pass the bar exam. So in order to retain these individuals, and hopefully, there's going to be a time where they do pass the bar exam, but they're able to provide us with the assistance that we need to the attorneys for someone who has the skill, who has went to law school and understands certainly legal principles. So that's essentially what those positions were created for.
Okay, great. Thanks for that explanation. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Mr. Bergdorf?
I have no problem with the concept. What I want to ask, and maybe this is a question more the county executive's office or the budget director, do we have other people in other departments who have gone to law school and graduated and have not passed the bar? So that when we create a position like this, which is a hybrid paralegal, almost lawyer, are we going to get, are there other similarly situated folks, either in the county attorney's office or the assistant public, the first counsel, alternate public defender, or in other categories that might be eligible for this type of position? I think that's sort of important if we're breaking new ground.
No, it's a fair question. I understand. I don't personally have any knowledge if there is any other individual within any of the other departments that potentially could fit within that position. I can certainly try to find out for you.
I think that would be good to know, because what we have found with legal salaries is that everybody looks at everybody. And there wants to be parity between the public defender and the district attorney's office, and then once something happens, the other legal akin agencies sort of would like parity as well. So I'm just wondering, I will absolutely support this, but I'd like to know what the extent of parallel candidates might be.
Okay, very well. Do you have anything, Keith?
Any other questions or comments? All All right, seeing none, oh, Mr. Feeney?
No, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Mr. Ricard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. Then we'll move to item 9, authorizing an agreement with the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services regarding the 5th Council at First Appearance grant.
Yes, thank you. This is specifically as it relates to the council, the 5th Council at First Appearance grant. So the Albany County Public Defender's Office requests authorization of the 5th Council at First Appearance grant contract with the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services. The grant provides $749,700 over a term of January 1st of 2026 to December 31st of 2028, and allows the county to continue to provide legal representation at arraignment 24/7 for any indigent individuals arrested. So, I don't know if you've heard, CAFA is the Council at First Arraignment. There are a rotation of attorneys who are on call in the event court's required to arraign an individual, and this allows funding for that purpose.
So there's 4 on call, and this is for like an emergency 5th. Is that why it's?
Yeah, if an individual is arrested and needs to be arraigned, there are courts that sometimes it's, 9:30 in the morning, or if it's a court where somebody gets arrested late at night, there is an attorney that is on call where the court can contact that attorney for the purposes of representing that individual at arraignment.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about this line item? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion? Mr. Feeney? Anybody else want to second that? Mr. Bergdorf, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. I believe that's it.
All right.
Thank you both very much. Have a good
Thank you
evening.
very much for your time. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item 10, authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding the Sexual Assault Crisis and Prevention Program grant. I believe Amanda Wingle from the Director of Criminal Crime Victim Services. Maybe I'm not getting the title exactly right.
That's okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. You can
I'm
go ahead.
Amanda Wingle, Director of Crime Victim and Sexual Defense Center. I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
Nope, go ahead.
All
Thank you.
right, great. So I'm here tonight to request authorization to enter into a contract with and accept grant funding from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for the Sexual Assault Crisis and Prevention Program grant in the amount of $198,618 for the October 2025, September 2026 contract year. This funding is provided to New York State DOH approved rape crisis centers like CVSVC to support sexual assault crisis and prevention services. So we will utilize this funding toward established staff salaries and fringe benefits for the staff who provide direct services like therapy, case management, 24-hour hotline support. We also use it toward our community outreach and prevention activities. Many of our grants will not pay for prevention work, so this is a really important part of our budget for that purpose.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this particular line item? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion? Mr. Feeney? Ricard? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Great, thank you so much.
All
Have a
right,
good
thank you
evening.
all.
Okay, that brings us to item 11, authorizing an agreement with the University at Albany Center for Technology in Government regarding professional services for data inventory. I think we have Pat Alderson, the county CIO.
Good evening, committee members. Pat Alderson, serve as your Chief Information Officer. So this is a request to enter into an agreement with the University at Albany Center for Technology and Government to do a comprehensive data inventory of all of the county's information systems. What we're hoping to do with UAlbany is to catalog all of the information systems that county departments are using, identify who owns the information system, who's entering data in there, if those information systems are subject to any compliance requirements. And we're really hoping that this initial phase is really just a planning and governance focused phase. but this will enable us to potentially do more work and move towards having a master data management strategy as well as platform for Albany County. We're hoping for this project to be completed by December 31st of next year. I know that I initially asked for an amount not to exceed $298,000 for this project, but after a discussion this afternoon with the Center for Technology and Government, they shared that initial quote, which was provided last year, may be subject to a 5 to 7% escalator, not yet confirmed. So I'm actually hoping for the funding authorization for this project to be increased to $325,000, if that is okay with this body, and I would be submitting new RLA forms and cover letters to reflect that change. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them at this time.
Anyone have any questions or comments about that? Mr. Bergdorf?
Question, Pat, has the SUNY Center for Technology done this for any other municipality?
Not to my knowledge. CTG is, but they have worked on numerous other government projects. In complete transparency, I don't know that any county government or local government in New York State has done something like this. The entity that's possibly gotten closest is New York City. This is something that a lot of local governments don't do, but that's quite disadvantageous, and frankly, even the state hasn't done yet completely well. But it's something you need to do in order to set yourself up for success long term. The county executive since the entire time I've worked in Albany County has regularly asked for how to get data-informed decision-making at a departmental level. Certainly departments are using data to inform their decision-making, but that data today is all siloed. It all lives in individual information systems. If you want to do any type of, multi-system analysis or even review, you need to then bring data together from those disparate systems and manually integrate it. What we're really looking to do is be able to size up everything that exists in Albany County, maintain that, and then hopefully, and set some parameters for governance around it, and then hopefully be able to move towards a state where we can bring all of that data or a copy of that data into one singular platform. It's been done in Allegheny County in Pennsylvania. They're considered kind of a leader in this space. They work very closely with the university or UPIT to do this type of project. Why specifically I'm looking to partner with a higher ed institution on a project like this is because your IBMs and Oracles of the world will come to you and say that they have the perfect solution for you, but their solution is based off of their technologies, which is totally fine. Both of their technologies are fabulous, but we need to have a technology agnostic and technology independent provider to give us an honest opinion of where we are and where we need to go.
I get it. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Plotsky?
So this is phase 1 of 4. Any estimate on the future phases?
So I guess we got to know what we have today in order to be able to kind of plan for those future stages. I know for stage 2, we were hoping to kind of actually like hone in on and select an architecture and begin piloting, bringing in data from those disparate systems into that architecture or into a singular platform. Once all that is there, or once you even start selecting a vendor, you kind of got to go one information system at a time to get it into that master data management platform. But this project will identify some potential vendors that we can consider for phase 2. But if you're asking for cost, this is not inexpensive. And any other organization that has gone through this has had to pay quite generously for that system. But I think it will reduce costs in the long term. And part of me even coming, just because we're doing phase 1 isn't committing us to phase 2. There's value in phase 1 independent of beginning any of the other future projects, because at least we'll know what we have here in place today, and it can be a baseline for us to build off of and keep an accurate, up-to-date inventory as we move forward.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion? Mr. Bergdorf?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Do we need to change the number to 325?
No, because they're submitting a new RLA form, so it's fine.
Okay, so we can approve it the way it is?
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Feeney? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
You as well.
Okay, item 12, I'm told, is being moved to Personnel Committee at the request of the executive, basically because of, I think, scheduling. So that brings us back to the top of our agenda. Items 2, 3, and 4 have been tabled at the request of sponsor, as has item 6. That leaves us with items 5 and 7. So item 5, local law number H for 2025, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending chapter 135 of the Albany County Code to fund the development of parts and components of advanced nuclear technologies. Mr. Bergdorf.
Thank you very much. I made a brief presentation last night, and we got cut short on time, and Bill wanted to have more time to be able to deliver his comments to the committee, so they agreed to have a post-public hearing committee meeting before the actual legislative meeting. Well,
You mean one of the other committees?
Yeah.
Oh, what, conservation?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I spoke to members of the committee, and I think there was general concurrence of support. I don't want to speak for anyone, but I have some interest in this from people in all of our conferences. So anyway, why are we here? Before Governor Hochul ever made any project announcements about nuclear power, I have been watching that space for a long period of time, and it became clear to me that, or at least clear to me as information was funneled to me, that the whole nuclear industry in New York State is going through a resurgence now, and that not only the state of New York, but the whole private sector is turning a corner to provide reliable power 24/7 to make up the shortfalls in the grid and to deal with upcoming power concerns that are happening across New York State. So that's where my original proposal came from, was, gee, we don't want a nuclear power plant in Albany County, I don't think. But we are in a unique position, especially with the nuclear industry, of what's happening that is going to happen and what people say in the private sector is going to follow. There are going to be probably $50 billion worth of nuclear projects that are going to be undertaken in New York State, probably over the next 10 or 15 years. And the governor little beknownst to me, because I don't get calls from the governor's office, but she proposed in her, earlier on, before the state of the state, that New York State would cite NYSERDA and the Public Service Commission would cite the first nuclear plant, and it would be 1 gigawatts of power. And she directed the PSC and NYSERDA to work collaboratively to put that plan into place. After that, before she expanded the proposal, NYSERDA and the PSC actually had a meeting in Syracuse where they met with a whole group of nuclear interests to say who are the players in the field who would be interested in creating the next generation of nuclear engineers, pipe fitters, welders, et cetera, because in order to build out this infrastructure, you need a workforce. So she had proposed that before we had our public hearing. We had our public hearing, and there was unanimous support from labor, all the big unions, pipe fitters, electrical. I have told the Teamsters and the operating engineers are there as well. They projected union jobs in excess of 6 figures, thousands of them, to support this growing industry. Over the years, it's going to happen. And we had support from the Albany County Chamber and the State Business Council because they recognize that this is going to happen. In addition to whatever New York State does, the federal government is going to be doing a micro nuclear plant up at the fort in Jefferson County to run the military base. So that's going to take place. Many of the chip fab companies and the Amazons and the cryptocurrency and the AI folks are looking at having dedicated micro nuclear plants to support their manufacturing things or manufacturing projects. And these are all unbelievably power intensive. And right now we don't have the energy in the grid. And I think what's happened is since all that sort of got out there in the public, the governor didn't just double down, but she proposed that NYSERDA and the Public Service Commission go beyond the 1 gigawatt and produce up to 5 gigawatts of power as a minimum. Now, what we're talking about is enough power to supply 3 million homes, and it's huge. It's what our state needs in terms of reliable power. Now, so what I have done is, and I tried to share this earlier on, and I got really nothing but positive comments with one exception. I would like to treat this as an economic development opportunity for Albany County. I mean, what would be better than having all the trades put together with nuclear engineers from RPI, a training program for nuclear, the next generation of nuclear technology workers, from the people who work in the trenches to the next cadre of nuclear engineers. That's just an example. People tell me that there are companies that just do nuclear turbines that will build them and do those sorts of things in one area. And if we're going to have a large nuclear evolution in New York State, I would like to see Albany County, if the opportunity projects itself or presents itself, to be able to take advantage of that. Now, I've got no horse in the race.
I think he wants you to take questions.
Yeah, why don't you take questions?
Okay, well, I just wanted to say one last thing. Paul doesn't select whether or not the Alliance or the stage committee gives someone a project. There is a committee, and it's made up of representatives of the majority and the chair's office and the county executive. So nothing would be chosen and go forward unless it were an advantage to Albany County. And the other thing we did was we put in this, there were people who had interest in other renewable opportunities like geothermal, and making it clear that all the various flavors of renewable energy were covered under the thing. So we, with the assistance of some folks who study this stuff, came up with a new definition that had been shared with Jeff and Dennis earlier, and we have not received any questions to the contrary. So I would like you to consider this and consider reporting it out to the floor for consideration, and that's my spiel.
Great,
Sorry I
thanks.
took so long.
Quite all right. Questions or comments? Anybody? Okay. Anybody? All right, I'm not hearing any. So can I have a motion?
I'm sorry, I might be behind the times here, but I can't see how the intent of the Stage Act was to include nuclear power ancillary core companies. But I understand what Mr. Berger is trying to do. I'm just not seeing the two of them meshing.
Okay, fair enough. Any other questions, comments? Dr. McLaughlin?
What is the timeline for what's being outlined here?
Probably, I mean, these plants, a full plant like what they're talking about up in Oswego, where Constellation is actually working to put together a proposal, they have to agree upon design elements. It's probably a 4 or 5 year planning and construction cycle. Now I will
Take the over.
Excuse me.
Take the over on that.
Okay. Well, but some of the micro plants, you have domestic producers and foreign producers that are already producing some of the micro plants. So the micro things that Chip Fab want to do, or Amazon may want to do, or any of the AI companies or the crypto currency folks, they could happen substantially quicker. And so you could see a sprinkling of them in a time frame that could be less than that. So it's an evolving industry. And I just want us to be in a position where this is not a question of whether or not you support nuclear energy. It's going to happen. It is zero emission. It has, everybody is focused on getting zero emission energy. The nuclear energy is 100% reliable, 24/7. It's not subject to weather. It's not subject to temperature. It is what industry and the grid is looking to achieve.
What financial obligation would we have?
Well, we wouldn't have any. I mean, what it would be if there were a supplier, say someone who was, let's use an analogy, and this may not be a good analogy, I may come to regret this, but if there was a manufacturer that wanted to come in to build nuclear turbines, okay, just the engines, which GE basically does around the world, If they wanted to put a facility in Albany County, they may come to you, like the folks who came to us or came to the state and said, we want to build the windmills, and we want to do that in Queens or the Port of Albany. And so it would be a supply entity which would support the nuclear industry. It could be, like I said, it could be it could be engineering firms that are going to have a sub-office here in the capital region, which would then service the entire industry across the state, and there's nothing that stops them from going to service the industry in Pennsylvania or other, but we are really a unique hub. Now, the governor has committed that no community will be forced to take a nuclear plant, that she will only go to communities that welcome it. And so right now, you have Oswego is crying for it. I don't want to say these are the new prisons in terms of economic development, but there are all sorts of upstate communities, Buffalo, Binghamton, Jefferson County, Oswego, not to mention the others. Yeah, there's no financial commitment other than if we wanted to attract somebody and somebody said, let's take them through our IDA so they can get financing, let's give them some seed money to do some planning, that would be the extent of, and that would be up to the stage committee to decide whether or not it was a laudable effort or not, and we should go forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I just have a
Lorelei.
question on D, the proposed D. So basically,
Okay.
you don't really need to have all this verbiage in here, right? If you just want to add, I think your other version was just including in the definition, these were eligible as a community business. So what does D accomplish other than?
What D accomplishes is it ties into what Governor Hochul's statement is on what are advanced nuclear technologies. It creates a linkage between what the PSC and NYSERDA are doing in terms of approving and bringing plants forward.
But is that necessary to be in there? D?
Well, is there,
Just asking legally speaking.
Just the whereas clause, right? Basically.
I mean,
Prefatory clause.
it's designed to align with what the governor is doing.
Quick
Mr.
comment.
Feeney?
So basically, this doesn't commit us to do anything as far as funding or anything like that. If any of this stuff wants to happen in Albany County, they want to maybe try to get Stage Act money, that would be something that the stage committee would have to approve.
Absolutely.
So this doesn't commit us at all to doing anything with nuclear. All right, just puts nuclear in there as a potential option.
But I think D appears to be more than doing that. That's like a philosophical statement in here about nuclear.
That's part of the legislative findings and intent.
Now, are you talking about, there's D and then there's E period, D parentheses?
That's old D.
Is that what they're,
Yeah.
so the new D is the one I'm offering?
Right, the one that says the Albany County Legislature for the
Okay.
fines.
All right.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Does anyone want to move this thing? Mr. Furley, you
Motion
moving
to
it?
approve?
Okay. Motion to, you want to move it out with a positive recommendation? Okay. Anyone want to second that?
I'll say.
All right, Mr. Feeney seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ms. Plotsky, you're opposed?
Yes.
Ms. Lorillard, what's your status on this one?
I said aye on it for the
Okay.
full legislature to consider it, but I don't think D is necessary.
Well,
Because
we're
it's,
moving it out with a positive recommendation, just so, not a neutral or a,
I believe what Mr. Bergdorf's saying is that nuclear is a reality, but I don't think we need D in there. That's all I'm saying.
okay. I don't, okay, well, good, but you're not making an emotion or anything.
You voted on it, right?
Yeah, we've already voted on it,
That's
so it's
fine.
kind of, it is what it is at
I'm
this
a
point.
yes.
Okay, well then, so that went, was like 6 in favor and 1 opposed, I think? Okay. Okay, so that one carries. As I mentioned, 6 is tabled at request of sponsor. 7 is local law number L for 2025, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, establishing the Albany County Affordable Housing Initiatives Plan. This went to public hearing on Monday. Nobody spoke. Now, Ms. Willingham, you're here to speak about this.
All right, thank you very much. So tonight, the Albany County Legislature is following through on its promise to address affordable housing as a crisis in Albany County. After codifying affordable housing is a governmental and public purpose, late last year, we are asking the committee to move forward tonight with local law L, which outlines the most prominent piece of the legislature's housing agenda. And that's the creation of a revolving loan fund to connect housing developers with financial advisory and educational assistance. The public hearing, as you know, as Jeff has said, was held last night. And this legislation it's a landmark legislation for Albany County. Stable housing saves lives, it prevents crime, and it builds public pride. That's just it, plain and simple. And that is everything to everyone here in Albany County. So I'm thankful that we have continued to adapt and evolve our approach to addressing this enormous issue. So I have our counsel here with us tonight to address any and all questions about the details of this law. But I believe I know we can all agree that affordability is a high and a huge priority across Albany County. So I just want to encourage the committee to move this law forward for consideration by the full legislature next month.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Chair. A lot of these particulars were done in the initial introduction. I believe you guys have a copy of the slide deck that the chairman initially put before us. Overall, the fund will utilize an initial investment of $1.6 million, which includes the legislature's $1 million commitment to address housing in its 2025 county budget. The law also defines how the county will add additional resources from the county's annual undesignated unappropriated fund balance over the next 10 years. The key point on this is the undesignated fund balance is the reserves funds. Therefore, if you look at the section 6B, until such a time as that fund balance reaches 10% of the appropriations, this revolving loan fund does not get a dime. So the county has to be fiscally sound and healthy before it can be addressed. The loan fund will be overseen by a 5-person committee housed within the Advanced Albany County Alliance, the same individuals that are handling our ALTEC funds. They will develop an application and review process. All applicants will have to demonstrate a minimum 5-to-1 private sector investment match and clearly state how the proposed projects are going to provide affordable housing. The committee will annually report back to the legislature on its progress. 2 of the committee's members will be picked by the chair, 2 will be picked by the county executive, and 1 by the legislature's majority leader. This new law is our next step in the body's efforts. Last year, local law G established affordable housing as a public purpose in Albany County, and it granted us the ability to confront this crisis directly. A first-time homebuyer navigator program, as well as the accessory dwelling units homeowner tax exemption, were also part of this housing agenda. I think this is the next step. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, any further questions or comments on this, Mr. Purley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I voted for this when it was first introduced, with the notion of it being a governmental purpose, and as this sort of developed, and I still very much support it. However, I'm a little concerned at how it's been somewhat sort of narrowed down from the original understanding. I was thinking about it, if you live in Albany's West End, or if you live way out in the town of Rensselaerville, and you make $50,000 a year, and there are no homes available for $175,000, you are facing an affordable housing crisis. If you live in Voorheesville or Westmere, and you make $80,000 a year, and there are no homes available for $230,000, you're facing an affordable housing crisis, right? It's on a relative scale, right? It's a crisis no matter where you are or the difference in $20,000 or $30,000 in purchasing power. My understanding was this was a county-wide problem in need of a county-wide solution. So I'm a little troubled that we've sort of narrowed it down into the definition of underserved areas, traditionally underserved, and rural areas. Now, I'm not going to argue against my own legislative district, which is a rural area, but I do have to say the problem is county-wide. And there are huge swaths of this county that do not qualify under whatever someone's definition of historically underserved areas or rural areas that are still facing an affordable housing crisis. And this legislation is offering absolutely nothing for those county residents. So I'm troubled by that.
Where are you reading? I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just trying to follow along.
He's talking about 7B, he's talking about 7B, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay.
And also, Mr. Chairman, in the Declaration of Legislative Findings and Intent, it talks about the justification for this lying in decades of residential flight, neglect, and blight have created a financing environment. And that's no doubt true in areas of the county. But in Voorheesville and Westmere, there was not decades of residential flight or neglect or blight, but yet there's still a significant affordable housing crisis. Right? So I just...
7B, really?
Was it 7B?
Yes.
Yep. So, I don't wanna disturb your flow there, but I really am trying to follow the first part of your argument.
It's the second to last page.
The development of affordable housing in rural areas and/or historically underserved communities.
Okay.
So if we have a proposal for development of affordable housing.
I think he's going to answer you.
Okay, good.
I would, Mr. Curley, I would take slight issue with how you characterize 7B. 7B is like, those criteria are there are 4 separate criteria, not one. It'll be about so to read everybody into this, the Affordable Housing Committee shall promulgate an application review process that shall evaluate proposals based upon the following criteria. 1, the resulting increase in affordable housing in Albany County. 2, project viability. 3, the development of affordable housing in rural and/or historically underserved communities. And 4, the level of investment by the applicant. It's one of the 4 factors. It's not the sole factor. It's not exclusive to rural and historically underserved communities.
I think that needs to be clarified then. Because I read it as you have to meet all of them.
I don't read it that way.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm happy to look at some language to take a look at that particular, but I would not interpret that the section 7B that way.
Would it satisfy you? I mean, basically, the concept that you're trying to say is that none of these are dispositive.
Yeah.
That they have to be like sort of weighed. They're all kind of weighed in the process, right?
Well, it seems to be a weighting process. In other words, if we had a proposal, the state, Governor Hochul announced a major program with prefabricated homes, right? If we had a developer come forward who wanted to do a prefabricated single-family home project in Westmere, okay? Or Delmar, right. Westmere is not a traditionally underserved community, however that is defined. I don't know really what that definition is, but I don't think anyone would argue that it is. Nor is it a rural community. So would that developer have a shot to participate at getting county money for the plan?
My understanding is that they would have a shot. It's one of the 4 criteria. So if they're scoring a 10 on 1, 2, and 4, and a 4 on item 3, that they would still have a shot regardless of the location? Is that what you're saying?
I would agree with that interpretation, Ms. Plessy. I think that this is something, to the extent that it's unclear, can be corrected with some language, but I would not interpret 7B that way.
Okay, so our council is suggesting there should be an or, so the word and.
Yeah, that can be removed, no problem.
Wait, what are we removing?
He wants to remove the and after section 3.
This is,
Yes, and replace it with or.
Or, yeah.
that makes it no longer a weighing factor. It means they can meet any one of those factors.
And I think an and/or might be the better solution than that.
Well, I don't think it means
Consideration of
anything.
the following.
I think leaving it as and leaves all four factors in there. But the committee has the ability to, if identical projects are presented in Del Mar or West Bern, they have the leeway to go lean toward West Bern.
But why? What's the justification for choosing West Bern over, and let's not use Del Mar, because Del Mar, I don't think has as much of a affordability problem, because the market is meeting demand, but let's use Westmere instead of Del Mar.
Sure, I just don't know.
What is our justification for saying West Bern is more deserving of this than Westmere?
Because they've been historically underserved perhaps, or rural?
But why are we choosing rural as being the winner? And I say that representing a rural district, right? I mean,
Well,
do you people in Cohoes?
well, I was gonna say that. Can I speak, Mr. Chairman? Sure. So, I represent an undeserved community, or, unrepresented community. So, if we were comparing and we look at all these 4 criteria, we're comparing my community versus Del Mar, as an example, I would think that my community would get it as opposed to Del Mar getting it, with all things being equal. And I interpret this, non-attorney, as all things being equal, the committee will decide and weigh which is the most important. In this particular scenario I just alluded to, I would say my community would get it because we're less affluent than Del Mar.
Well, and a developer would make their money in Del Mar and not need the assistance of.
Good point, good point.
Well, I'm a historically underserved community. Underserved how? Because you could argue that Del Mar is an underserved community for affordable housing.
Precisely.
So it's what is that? It's not a defined term.
Doesn't mean it's only the cities or Cohoes.
Well, what does it mean? I'm not quite sure.
I don't think it means just those areas of the city or Cohoes or places like that where, people maybe, lack of a better term, lower wage and poor, okay?
That's affluent.
Right, that's what it was.
It also could be, I think, in Colony, we have an issue of seniors who can't either stay in their homes and they're looking to stay in the community, but there isn't any enough affordable senior housing in Colony, so would that be underserved? I mean, I see what you're trying to say, and I guess it's statutory construction, like,
Is this something
do a
that-
list?
Oh, sorry. Is this something that can be fixed by addition of a definition, or not fixed, but clarified by addition of a definition and perhaps maybe noting that one or more of them is not dispositive?
I think that both could probably serve, yeah. I don't think that this is a hurdle that can't be surmounted.
And I don't
This
think,
also isn't new language, right? This has been there
yeah,
since
that's
Joanne
been,
started this month's.
yeah, the
months
language has not
ago.
changed.
And this is our last little hurdle, right?
To me, the weighing, not one versus the other, that's an easy fix, right? I mean, frankly, the and/or thing, probably would fix it. The piece that I'm a little more, because I don't want to send this off and then have somebody look at it and be like, not understanding precisely what number 3 does mean. So I'll ask the primary drafters of this. When you say it prioritize the development of affordable housing in rural areas, that's easy. But historically underserved communities, that really is a little ambiguous. What is a historically underserved community? Because it could be interpreted one of two sort of opposite ways. You could say there are places in this county where there is a dearth of affordable housing, right? And then there are, I think we should clarify that term.
I think that the term needs some clarification. The purpose of the drafting of it is actually the intent behind section 3 was explicitly the opposite of what you were looking at in that particular concern, Mr. Purley. It was to say this is not simply a city project. And so maybe it is not simply a city project, but a county-wide project, which is why one of the concerns we had, and I believe you expressed it in the public purpose on local law G, which is how do we, we don't want to make sure that all of this is a county-wide initiative as opposed to simply a City of Albany issue. I think that this can be addressed with some fixes to the language.
Okay. And in that same vein, in that same spirit, the Declaration of Legislative Findings and Intent, it talks all about renters, which gives the implication that we're focusing on multifamily housing. More than 57 or 58% of the housing units in the county are single-family homes. In my district, it's probably 85% single-family homes. I think by just mentioning renters in the legislative findings and intent, it creates, if I were sitting on this committee and I read that, I would say, well, we've been charged with focusing on multifamily housing. And I'm not sure that that's accurate. And I certainly wouldn't want to exclude the development of single-family housing. And particularly, you may be at cross purposes when you talk about we want to do multifamily housing. If you say it's multifamily housing, but in rural areas, well, that's almost mutually exclusive because in most rural areas, they don't have the public infrastructure to support multifamily housing.
So where in the text?
Well, hold on, let's just let's go one at a time. Good. If I may, just to directly respond to what you're talking about. But the definition of affordable housing, which is, I understand that there's this language at the front, but the definition
One or more.
says rental or home ownership. That's the operative language, and it defines it to be more than just rental, also low-income home ownership. I'll say that, but Ms.
Point noted.
Plotsky and then Ms. Plotsky. What's that?
I was just wondering where Jeff was referring to in the text.
He's referring
Okay.
to the legislative findings and intent, I believe. Am I correct, Mr.
That's right.
All right, Mr. Ricard.
Well, seeing as how it mentions multiple times in B about affordable housing, what if you just totally strike through?
So what, section 3?
Section 7, B, totally strike 3, it mentions multiple times about affordable housing. Personally, I think it's inferred throughout this whole document that, various criteria will be included, so just get rid of 3, include everything else, 1, 2, and 4.
So it would be sort of agnostic as to location? That's your proposal?
Yes, exactly, because we're all in Albany County, so everything will be considered anyway, whether you're, everything that says in 3 would already be considered, I would say by definition. So just strike it.
Yeah, but I believe the intent of 3 was probably to address some concerns that affordable housing would be throughout the county.
Right.
You know.
But isn't it inferred anyway? Affordable housing, because you're mentioning it multiple times. You're mentioning it 1, 2, 2 times already without 3. You're mentioning affordable housing, right? In B.
Right.
So now you're mentioning it a 3rd time in 3.
Sponsors?
Can you please restate your statement?
I'm just saying,
That the elimination.
you're already mentioning in B, affordable housing 3 times total. So if you just get rid of the number 3 totally, just strike it, get rid of it, remove it. I think it's inferred that affordable housing in underserved communities is already going to be addressed regardless if it says it or not. And I come from an underserved community. I have confidence in the committee that's going to be appointed. My community will be addressed. Mr. Purley's community will be addressed. Mr. Bergdorf's community will be addressed. I have confidence in these committees.
I'd like to leave it in there.
Is the point of 3 just to ensure that affordable housing is developed sort of throughout the county and not sort of concentrated?
I think, yes. And so I think perhaps language that says simply throughout the county probably solves both of those problems.
Right. What if 3 said the development of affordable housing countywide, right? wouldn't that kind of capture the whole idea that we want affordable housing everywhere, in the city, in the hill towns, everywhere, right?
One says that, that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, but one says that there is a goal to increase affordable housing. I think the intent of 3 was to say, and there's also a goal that affordable housing be equally developed throughout the county.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Just add that to 1 then. Just add that to 1 and get rid of 3.
Well, I think 3 is different than 1. It was certainly intended to be different than 1. Whether or not it could be tweaked to be more, but I just want to, is that the intent of 3, was to say that it should be developed sort of throughout the county?
And it should say that.
Geographically diverse?
So I think
Exactly.
Maybe it should just say something along those lines.
Agreed.
Can I ask one clarified
Sure.
question to help this
Sure.
conversation?
Yeah.
I think you said earlier on, the 4 criteria, you don't have to hit all 4. It is designed to be, they'll all be considered, they don't have to be given equal weight, but they're in there, right?
There's, it's viewed in totality, not.
So not every submission has to have.
Doesn't mean that you have to.
And I believe also, just wanting to make this on the record, that one of the things that we're talking about with the legislative findings and intent, if we go back to our public hearings on local law G, I believe that the concern was that we wanted to focus on larger, broader issues as opposed to single, like, I believe that there was a tension between
They can kind of do
that
that on their own.
initially, which shaped the direction of local law L.
Yeah,
That we
right.
didn't want to do the $1 million house.
Mark it up here.
No,
Yeah.
and nor should be.
Right, okay.
Right, but I don't think it means we,
We don't want to, we also don't want to specifically exclude that. The language needs to be broader. Is, I think, what your concern is, yes, sir?
yeah, I have no, under definition 5, I have no problem, because it says specifically, single unit housing is eligible for the program. That's fine. My thing is, a declaration of legislative finding and intent is sort of a charge by us to this committee, right? And if all we talk about in that charge is renters and the problem that renters are facing, then if I were on that committee, I would say, okay, well, we've got
Okay.
to fix renters' problems.
Yep, okay, so are those, is that the sum total of your, like, substantive thoughts about this?
Yes.
Okay. On those 2 issues, Mr. Purley's saying, I think that perhaps a sentence or so in the beginning to capture the idea that affordable housing does not just rentals, but also single-family housing or other forms of housing would mitigate the concern that he's raised. So I think you could do that before this gets passed. And then I think perhaps some revisions to section 7B sub 3 to, in line with this discussion to maybe tweak that language to make it clearer with your intent. You can do that too. And none of that, we don't need to do that here. They can do that because I don't think it's a substantive change. I think it's just to clarify it, and you can do that before it actually gets passed.
I'm happy to take a look at that one and confer with your council on it to make certain that that you get back that language.
Okay.
May I just note,
Yes.
under definitions, item 6, housing shall be defined as and include all housing accommodations as here described. So I don't feel like this is skewed towards renters, and it's mentioned homeownership as well. So I'll go with however the committee wants to handle this for revision, but I think a lot of thought was already given to this draft. I think it represents both renters and homeowners. I think it's trying to accommodate rural and historically underserved communities. So I'm not feeling strongly that we need any revisions unless you want to put an and/or in that section. But that's my take
Well,
on this.
You could easily, the last sentence in the first paragraph in section 2, as rents and housing prices continue to rise. There you go. You could add and housing prices, and it would address Mr. Purley's concern, and I don't think it changes, I think it just is clarifying.
Exactly.
So there you go.
I don't see any harm in that.
Yep,
Good.
great.
Thank you for your.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other I think that's all good. I think it's
All
good,
good.
good
Thank you.
discussion, good clarifying discussion, absolutely. Mr. Bergdorf.
Yeah, I want to thank Tom for the time that he has spent working with James to try to understand some of the concerns that we have, or that I have, and I know some of the members of our conference have. And I've become convinced that some of those concerns can be dealt with in the last piece. Things like requiring municipal sign-off for a location. We don't want to be doing something in Cohoes that Cohoes doesn't want to have done. We also want to make sure that projects are going into correctly zoned parcels. We don't want someone...
This is financials.
I know, no, but
Yeah,
this
that's
is,
nothing
I'm
to do.
using this as a bridge to say there are other concerns that we have talked about, and Tom has told us that those are legitimate concerns for the third piece, which is the operational and finance part. Zoning, whether preference should be given to higher density parcels, to maximize the amount of development dollars. There should be a cap by community so that we don't end up with 80% of the dollars in one community. There should be clawback provisions in case somebody gets an award of funds and it either doesn't happen through, let's call it natural problems with the project. I think there should be a preference for Albany County developers. And that any of the, if there are homes to be sold that are lower cost and to the extent that they're subsidized, I think they should be done on the open market so that everybody can go to a realtor and have an opportunity to buy them, so that there's a public funnel as to rather a private funnel. Those are examples of things that we talked about that we thought could be the subject of point 3. I want to bring one consideration to you, and I told Tom I was going to ask him to chat with the chairwoman about that. One of the things I've become concerned about as we've unpacked the language and even got clarifications as late as today is that with the funding formula, it goes by formula until you reach $7 million, okay? I guess there have been some informal discussions that I've heard, that could be reached in 3 or 4 years. So you could have essentially 6 years, which you go into Part B of the funding cycle, which is 0.75 per year of the county surplus. Now, what I'm suggesting is there a way to deal with anything above the 7 million that goes in, but on an annual basis through the budget process? We could find ourselves in the middle of a recession, a pandemic. Who would have thought that would ever be possible? Who would have thought that sales tax would not only become stagnant, but go negative? We use the budget surplus as an inoculation against tax increases. You could hypothesize something where if there was a downturn in the economy, we could be asking residents for a 10% tax increase while we're putting $1 million in a housing fund because we absolutely have to do it because it's in a local law. If that excess funding were not in a local law, the Audit and Finance Committee could, as part of the next budget cycle, that could be aspiration. That's my favorite word. Aspirational. That could be the goal. But if circumstances due to the county's, financial situation require a modification, then the legislature can modify it. And that's what I'm worried about.
But, well, hold on, it's, the 0.75 is just what's in the budget proposal. That's all it is requiring that the budget proposal include that. We always have the capacity as the legislature to change the proposal.
That, I believe that that's true. I would also state that A says that you have to, we have to reach a certain point. We have to reach a certain point of the overall of the overall fund balance's health before the housing initiatives is allowed to be given a dime. That's the premise of A that's the premise of A right at the top. So let's for example take our budget was roughly 900 million. Okay? The unappropriated, undesignated fund balance, the first time that we would be able to kick in on a $900 million budget would mean that we would have to have about almost $100 million in the $100 million in the undesignated unappropriated fund balance. So I understand your concern. Black swan event happens. What's going on? What happens in that? But I believe that the funding structure has its own resistances built inside of it to protect the county's fisc on that. It was one of the insistences that the Department of Management and Budget had on it.
Could we say up to? If the legislature can reject it, and that's clear, I have obviously less of a problem with that, because I'm trying to preserve big financial decisions for the legislature. You know, you could easily say up to 0.75, and then it becomes discretionary. You know, in the legislature, if the county executive put in, you know, 200,000 and you wanted it to be 500,000, you could do it. So I don't know how you want to do that. The other thing I just wanted to point out, and I didn't realize this, I figured that would go into effect once we had $7 million into the fund. But what I'm hearing now is it's the balance available to loan. So say you put $7 million in, and $5 million is out on the streets, then really your balance is not 7, it is actually 2. So you continue to draw at a higher rate. It could be that you end up putting a whole lot more than $7 million, and I'm not sure that everyone is clear on that. And I am trying to get there on this, and I really appreciate Tom working with us.
It says that the amount held, if the amount of the county designated funds provided through subsection B held by the Affordable Housing Committee, right? So that would mean they would have to have all that money, like they're holding it, not in previously invested money.
So if you're well, that's what I'm wondering. I just want clarification on that.
I think it's clear.
How do you think it's interpreted?
Because it says held. It doesn't, I thought you were saying that the $7 million could be both like money in hand and historic money that had already been spent and was invested.
No. I mean, for example, if you have $5 million in working loans and you have $2 million available, but you've put in 7, okay?
You're not holding 7.
So it becomes a rolling balance year after year.
Yeah, that's the way. I mean, to me,
Okay,
that is not ambiguous.
Okay, well, that was kind of my point. That didn't come through until just today in discussions, at least to me. And once again, I have less of a problem with that as long as the legislature has continued oversight. And I asked Tom if he would raise this issue with the chair to see if there was some way where we could maintain the goals of the operation, but give the legislature more flexibility. And he said he'd like to have an opportunity to do that. I don't want to speak for you, but
You have raised a concern. I will discuss that. I'm happy to discuss that with the chair.
okay.
Okay,
That's fine. And I'm gonna vote to put this out to the floor and, you know, try to get there.
great. Okay, I think we've knocked this one around enough. Can I have a motion to report this out favorably? Mr. Ricard, Mr. Feeney, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. That is it. Can I have a motion, right? You're gonna throw it in, right? Okay. Motion to adjourn, Mr. Ricard.
Second.
Mr. Feeney, all in favor? Aye. All right, good night, everyone.